Hello everyone, I'm Ikram Bayan with EBS News. Today's headlines are: 5 American Muslims arrested in Pakistan on suspicion of joining jihad. Email scam targets Mandela's Foundation. Oxfam warns over East Africa drought. According to The Time, Pakistan police arrested 5 young American Muslims in Pakistan on suspicion of trying to join militant groups in its lawless tribal areas. The Time further reports that a team from the US FBI in Pakistan is investigating the 5 men, all students between the age of 19 and 25. The suspects were reported missing by their families after disappearing from their homes in Northern Virginia last month. Pakistan police said that they arrested the group, including 3 of Pakistan, 1 of Egyptian and 1 of Yemeni origins, at a house used by a militant group in the town of Sargodha. A senior security official told The Times that interrogation of the suspects and information on their computers showed that they have contacts with local Al-Qaeda operatives. The senior security officer further noted that the suspects have met representatives of Jamaat Udawa, a banned militant group, and of a JEM, which has links to Al-Qaeda and is blamed for the murder of Daniel Pearl, a Wall Street Journal reporter, in 2002. The case is the latest in a series this year that has raised fears American Muslim citizens and residents are being radicalized and recruited by militant groups on US soil to strike targets there. The 5 men's arrest coincided with the first appearance in a Chicago court of David Headley, an American citizen of Pakistan origin accused of plotting terrorist attacks in Denmark and India. It's recalled that Nidal Hassan, a major in the US Army with links to an extremist Muslim cleric, shot dead 13 comrades at Fort Hood military based in Texas last month. In the meantime, US authorities charged a group of men with helping to recruit at least 20 young American Somalis to go back to Somalia to fight with the Al-Shabaab militant group. The Independent News says that the Nelson Mandela Foundation has denounced an email scam which asks people to send money to fraudsters who have borrowed the foundation's name. The plausible-sounding appeal for funds begins with a detailed account of what it calls a center of memory capturing the life and times of the founder. It claims the collection of the money includes, among others, the creation of a unique facility for researchers working on the life and times of the founder. The appeal is signed Dr. Zulu Ken and gives an email address in India. In a similar development, in October, the group rebooked the South African actress Charlize Theron for auctioning a meeting with Mr. Mandela for charity and the President of Congo Brazzaville for passing of an old Mandela speech as the specially written forward for his new book. Mr. Mandela, 91, retired in 2004 and appears in public only rarely, but his foundation is kept increasingly busy trying to fend off attempts to exploit his charisma. According to Oxfam, the rains in East Africa have failed for 6 consecutive years, leaving millions of people in hardship. The charity says Somalia's drought is the worst for 20 years and November rainfall was less than 5% of normal in parts of Kenya and Ethiopia. Oxfam says the next rains in hardest hit areas are not due until April. In a related development, the UN says it is aiming at feeding 20 million people in East Africa over the next 6 months. It says the drought and rising food prices in East Africa are causing severe hardship. The aid group says 1.5 million cattle, goats and sheep have already died in Kenya, Tanzania and Uganda, putting many people's livelihoods at risk. The surviving animals are being sold off at a rock-bottom prices. To make matters worse, farmers are leaving their land to search for a living in cities already suffering from high unemployment. The global economy is expected to show a 1.1% drop in output for 2009, following a 5% expansion in 2007 and 3% growth in 2008. Economists are forecasting a rosier 2010 for global finances than this year has been. However, they warn that the economic recovery remains fragile and will not lead by the world's advanced industrialized nations. 2009 began with a sinking global economy paralyzed by a worldwide credit crunch, stung by a cascading failure of banks and financial institutions, and undermined by panic and pessimism on the part of consumers and investors from Wall Street to Tokyo. The past years has been sharp spikes in unemployment, which peaked at 10.2% in the United States, 9.8% in Europe, 9% in Brazil, and 5.7% in Japan. But analysts warn that perils remain and badly needed financial reforms in the United States and elsewhere have yet to be implemented. According to Zadi, a chief economist at Moody's Economy.com, policymakers have done a lot of good work stabilizing the financial system, but they have not changed anything fundamentally. And until they do, the risk of another financial panic in our future is still very high. World Bank President Robert Zoellick says the global economic downturn struck advanced industrialized nations particularly hard, providing an opening for rising economic powers like India and China to shine on the world stage. Adding that, he said India is now a rising economic power that handled the recent economic crisis very well. It has contributed to world economic stability and could become the pole or focus of global economic growth over time. Instead of advanced industrialized nation leading the way, analysts say global economic growth would likely be powered by rapid expansion in countries like China and India, with contributions also coming from the lesser developed nations. Associated Press reported that a record 20 million plus people in the United States collected unemployment benefits at the same point in 2009, a year that ended with a jobless rate at 10% nationally. The number of new claims for jobless benefits dropped last week to 432,000, the Labor Department said Thursday, down sharply from its late March peak of 674,000. Economists say that the decline signals that the economy could begin adding a small number of jobs in January. About 20.7 million people at one point collected benefits in 2009. A larger percentage received jobless benefits in 1981 to 82, but the workforce has grown by a third since then. 50 million Americans are out of work, an increase of 3.8 million since the start of 2009. There are 6 unemployed people on average for each available job, and the so-called underemployment rates, counting part-time workers who want full-time jobs and laid-off workers who have given up their job hunt, stand at 17.2%.